Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. What happens when you can no longer denounce your political opponents as Russian spies? This is a major problem in the Democratic Party right now, but they have a solution. You just call them white nationalists instead. It's every bit as stupid and slanderous, and it's even more effective in shutting them up. But what does it do to the country when you whip up hatred and fear like that? We'll tell you just ahead. But first tonight, the Attorney General William Barr has finally confirmed what has been obvious for months now. The Obama administration spied on Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Nothing like this has happened in modern American history. Barr dropped the news almost in passing during testimony before Congress this morning.
I think spying on a political campaign is a big deal. It's a big deal.
So you're not suggesting, though, that spying occurred?
I don't, I guess you could, I think spying did occur. Yes, I think spying did occur. I'm not suggesting it wasn't adequately predicated, but I'd need to explore that.
Well, there's no disputing the points that Barr made, especially the first one. Spying on a presidential campaign is a big deal, especially when it was authorized by a rival administration. Just imagine if, a year from now, the Trump administration allowed the FBI to surveil officials in the Kamala Harris for President campaign. Imagine if, when caught, Trump pointed to opposition research generated by the Republican National Committee as justification for that surveillance. How would the media react to that story? Well, like it was a major jaw-dropping scandal. And this show would heartily agree with that. We would not defend that. Law enforcement should never be used as a partisan political tool, no matter who it benefits. But the media don't feel that way about Obama's spying. They refuse to admit it even was spying. Professional dumb person Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post attacked the Attorney General for daring to bring up the topic at all. She called Barr Trump's toady. CNN, meanwhile, assured its viewers that there is little evidence that spying occurred. But that's a lie. There is plenty of evidence that spying occurred, and we've had it for months. In 2016 and 17, the FBI wiretapped Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign chairman. Former Trump aide Carter Page was spied on extensively by the U.S. government, even though it was obvious from the very first day that he was not a Russian spy. Please. Last year, we learned that the FBI used an informant to feed it information from inside the Trump campaign. This is all spying. There's no other word for it. When Trump complained about being spied on, Democrats and their employees in the media called him a nutcase and a liar.
There is no evidence to support any allegation that the FBI or any intelligence agency placed a spy in the Trump campaign.
His baseless claims of spies.
This so-called spy issue, first of all, there's absolutely no evidence there was a spy. So it's really a fake issue.
It's this phony baloney story about a spy in the campaign. To call them a conspiracy theory is to give them too much credit. Just fake facts.
All the other people who've seen the intelligence in your own party are saying there's just no there. I'm wondering what it will take for you, Congressman Zeldin, to say he's full of it.
He lied. He's crazy. It's a conspiracy theory. A lot of Republicans said that too, by the way, and we should remember their names. And as it turns out, there was, in fact, a conspiracy afoot to hide the truth. But Trump was not leading that conspiracy. Jim Clapper was.
Was the FBI spying on Trump's campaign?
No, they were not. They were spying on a term I don't particularly like, but on what the Russians were doing, trying to understand were the Russians infiltrating, trying to gain access, trying to gain leverage and influence.
So why doesn't he like
what they do?
So why doesn't he like that? He should be happy that.
Well, he should be.
He should be. Got that? The Obama administration wasn't spying. They were just watching him without his knowledge. On behalf of the opposing party, in the closing months of a bitter presidential campaign, no big deal. Trump ought to be grateful for that. The Obama people cared enough to surveil his staff. They're patriotic that way. They're big-hearted people. God, come on. There's got to be a limit to how much lying a country can take from its leaders before things start to fall apart. And we've definitely reached our limit. Russian collusion did not happen. Domestic spying during a presidential campaign did happen, and we have a right to know who participated in it, who authorized it, and what their motives were. We have a right to know that immediately, right now, without redactions. This country does not belong to retired Obama staffers and intel agency heads and mindless CNN contributors who nod gravely as they say something they don't understand. No. It's our country. This is a democracy, and we ought to act like it's a democracy.
A couple of major headlines so far in this hearing. The first is really quite extraordinary. About a half hour ago, we had an exchange between the Attorney General Bill Barr and Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen. She had a specific line of questioning about why the Attorney General was personally reviewing the genesis of the FBI counterintelligence investigation that opened in late July of 2016. And for some context, the reason that's important is because that investigation is the foundation for the special counsel case, and that investigation also took the extraordinary step of securing a surveillance warrant for a Trump campaign aide, Carter Page. So listen to this exchange and pay careful attention to the language that's being used.
I think spying on a political campaign is a big deal. I'm not suggesting that those rules were violated, but I think it's important to look at that. And I'm not talking about the FBI necessarily, but intelligence agencies more broadly.
So you're not suggesting, though, that spying occurred?
I don't, I guess you could, I think spying did occur. Yes, I think spying did occur.
The Attorney General went on to say that what was important to understand is whether there was an evidentiary basis, a predicate, if you will, that justified that surveillance warrant during the campaign. The second thing we also learned this morning is that there are going to be two phases to this process. The public report, which will be color-coded in terms of the redactions, and then he said he will move into a second phase with Congress to find out if there's additional material that they want that he will be able to provide specifically to them. So sorry for all of the sort of jumble right there. We had the key point on the spying allegation and then the second on two phases of the Mueller report. Sandra and Bill.
Joining me right now, House Oversight Committee member, South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman. Congressman, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, Trish.
All right. So now we've moved on to the next chapter, it seems. And now we're asking the question that I wish people had been asking all along, which is, how is it that the FBI is using opposition research to spy on innocent Americans?
Well, and that's what Attorney General Barr is going to get to the bottom of, Trish. The fact that we spent over 2 years, $24 million, 53 witnesses called, and now that they didn't find anything on the president, which is what the Democrats wanted, now he has an obligation to find out, where did it come from? Why did they pursue this, and how do you hold somebody accountable? This, I think you mentioned, will make Watergate seem like a third-rate burglary.
Well, possibly, so, if it's for political reasons. Now, I mean, that's the question here, and I think Attorney General Barr is right to be saying you got to figure, what was this predicated upon? In other words, if they had legitimate fears, legitimate concerns, I just don't know why they won't do a little bit more research, why they don't figure out and source material themselves. Why on earth would they take it from the likes of the Clinton campaign, knowing that this had been bought and paid for by the Clinton campaign? I guess that's where I find things very troubling and very murky. I'm not saying it was all political, but I think we need to answer that question, don't you?
Well, we need to answer the question and hold people accountable. And, you know, the Democrats, I wish your viewers could have seen the Democrat faces after the Mueller report was pretty much exonerated, or the review exonerated the president. They should have been happy that the country wasn't drugged through another 2 years of trying to find something on this president, or the accusations were not true. But secondly, they ought to be excited about getting to the bottom of it, because as President Trump said, he doesn't want this happening to another president. And I credit Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan. They've got 2 letters out, one to Elijah Cummings to get Mr. Horowitz to, once they review the process that the DOJ and the FBI went in to get the FISA warrants, have Mr. Horowitz testify, because they should have investigated a dossier that was bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton staffer.
Well, and then they're using that, sure, they're using that and not bothering to tell the judge. I mean, Congressman, the viewers may have heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again. As a journalist, I triple check all my sources on things, right? I'm not going to take a piece of research that's been written by someone with a total agenda and take that somehow as gospel. And that's essentially what they did, and never had the decency to tell the judge where the information was coming from. So the judge might think, okay, the FBI has done its own due diligence. Turns out they didn't. And that's a question that needs answering. Why is the FBI using opposition research to issue FISA warrants? We hope you get to the bottom of it. Congressman Norman, thank you so much.